You're listening to the podcast about little-known niche subcultures and hobbies that reintroduces you to your neighbors in Technicolor. I'm Leslie Thompson, and it's niche to meet you. Hello, Niche Nation. Leslie here. Before we get to the point of this episode, I wanted to offer something of a public address. It's a classic good news, bad news situation. So I'll start with the good news. I am indeed still working on full-length episodes for this show. If you're subscribed to the niche list and follow us on socials, you already know that the next niche will feature the niche subculture of Double Dutch. It's like jump roping with two ropes. You've probably seen it in various places, Sesame Street being one of them. In August, I spent a night in Washington Square Park in New York with a pop-up Double Dutch event. That's what you're hearing under me right now. And over the last couple months, I've talked to an ethnomusicologist, a Pulitzer Prize-winning poet. And a couple weeks ago, I wrapped interviews with a morning at a Nashville Double Dutch meetup of women over 40. Here's a brief moment from that time. As with any of these stories, something that feels so joyful doesn't come without tragedy just below its surface. And Double Dutch is no exception. And I fully expect that the episode will bring more meaning to why the niche is the antidote to the isolation and other threats that we face as a society. But that brings us to the bad news, actually. The Double Dutch episode may not come this fall or even this calendar year. And here's why. This show is, by every definition, a passion project. There's no organization backing it. There's no financial support. It's just me and a couple friends who lovingly contribute their ears and talents to help lift it up. And that's really fine. It's how I was willing to do it from the beginning, seriously. But infrastructure and support does equal sustainability. So where it lacks, projects like this can be difficult to produce consistently, especially when the stories I choose to tell deserve to be told well. And there's this quote attributed to Banksy: "If you get tired, learn to rest, not to quit." Who knows if that was really him? Who knows who he is? But I love the quote. So in an attempt to keep Niche to Meet You going, I'm slowing my pace a little bit, doing some more savoring, observing, listening. In the meantime, you're welcome to reach out anytime at hello@nichetomeetyou.show. So as you wait for the next episode, I wanted to do something that reflects on what we've done over the past couple years of reporting for Niche to Meet You and the belonging that folks are finding in their worlds. So hop on the niche party bus with me as we look back at the top 5 nichest moments of this show so far. Okay, I wonder if I should use some sound effects to introduce each of these. How about this? 5! Okay, well, let's go with that. 5! Okay, you're going to have to forgive me because number 5 is not technically something that happened on this show. It was something that happened to this show, but it was extremely important, and I realized I never actually shared it with you. I know I shared that we did the revisionist history takeover, but as a result of that, Malcolm Gladwell himself actually ran an ad that told people listening to revisionist history to listen to our Barkley episode that released in May. And what I should have done when that happened was to release a little mini episode to share with you all the actual clip of Malcolm talking about this show. So it's a few months late. I know. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. But here is Malcolm Gladwell talking about Niche to Meet You, saying our show name, and telling people to listen to the Barkley episode. And I have also included some light commentary.
You know that on Revisionist History, we relish a deep dive into the underexplored.
Of course we do.
And now there's a new podcast doing just that, covering the little-known niche subcultures that are so endlessly fascinating.
You don't say.
The show is called Niche to Meet You. And it tells stories about things like speed puzzling and dog agility. Created by Leslie Eiler Thompson.
That's me!
The latest episode covers an absolutely wild ultramarathon called the Barkley.
Oh, yeah.
As a runner, I was naturally intrigued.
Uh-huh.
Leslie tells a masterfully written story.
He said masterfully written!
It weaves in the unexpectedly perfect narrative of the great Herman Melville novel, Moby Dick.
Uh-huh.
Find Niche to Meet You on any podcast platform, and when you write a review, say Revisionist History sent you.
Okay, it's been a couple months since I've actually listened to that. And we have had a lot of people come to this show because of this ad. So if that's you, send me an email. Let me know that Revisionist History actually sent you. I am so grateful to the entire Revisionist History and Pushkin teams for making this happen. Thank you. All right, onward. Earlier this year, in 2025, I was trying to think through creative ways to partner with other people to get the word about Niche to Meet You spread further than my arms could reach. And I started wondering if there were any viral Instagram accounts that would be interested to do an interview and then post a collaborative reel. And somehow, lo and behold, I mean, this just happens. My algorithm, as you might imagine, is bonkers. An account called Official Stick Reviews came into my feed, and it started as simply as posting videos of cool sticks people have found from around the world. They are currently sitting at 3.4 million followers, which is crazy. These are just two guys. One lives in Utah, one lives in California. They are so tender and pure, but they have grown so exponentially because about 2 months before my episode released, they were on an NPR episode of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. And then, gosh, I think it was just last month, they were on Jimmy Fallon. So they have grown so much and the world loves them. And who doesn't love hearing a great stick review? So Logan and Boone love them. But the reason why this episode, I'm going to call it the whole episode, is number 2 on my favorite things that have happened in the Niche to Meet You project so far is because I had this idea. As I was working on this show, I was reading a book by a woman named Margaret Rankle, and her newest is a sort of look at the whole year in the life cycle of one's backyard. And she loves to watch birds. She loves to watch nature. She was a nature writer. She writes a lot for New York Times. And a friend suggested this book to me. So I was reading this book at the same time I was working on this episode. And there's this line that was just so intrinsic to what the heart of Stick Nation is all about, which is getting outside for our betterment, for our mental health, which then extends into how we treat others. And I thought it would be so great to have Margaret read this passage herself. So I pulled a couple strings, talked to some friends who talked to her, and she agreed to do it. So in her backyard, she recorded herself reading this passage. Here's the final thing that makes me love this niche moment. This is a trifecta. I was sitting thinking about how I would want to score this episode, and there's a hymn that's part of my faith tradition called This Is My Father's World. And the first 5 notes are actually very similar to the first few notes of the Fellowship of the Ring theme. And we had already been talking about Gandalf because the staff and sticks. And I just thought, wouldn't it be so cool to somehow bring that in? And so underneath Margaret, Abby Flowers, who does a lot of our music here on Niche to Meet You, scored this arrangement of This Is My Father's World, kind of. It's more stealing from that first few lines, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, which if you know Lord of the Rings, you know that's Fellowship of the Ring. And so it came together in this beautiful moment, which I share for you now.
We are creatures built for joy. We can stagger out of an appointment where a person in a white coat has given us the news we think we cannot bear to hear. And still we smile at the baby in the checkout line, clapping her chubby hands at the balloons by the cash register. This is who we are, the very best of who we are. The world is burning and there is no time to put down the water buckets. For just an hour, put down the water buckets anyway. Take your cue from the bluebirds who have no faith in the future, but who build the future nevertheless, leaf by leaf and straw by straw, shaping them into the roundness of the world. Turn your face up to the sky. Listen, The world is reminding us that this is what the world does best. New life, rebirth, the greenness that rises out of ashes.
I mean, that is just like so cool. All right, number 3. All right, I'm going to cheat at my own system a little bit, and I'm going to spend the next 2 talking about wild turkeys. If you follow me on socials, you will know that I really did fall in love with the wild turkey. The episodes themselves provided such a huge opportunity for professional development for me in developing journalistic chops, and from interviewing to seeing a speck of something that might be interesting and then following it and eventually landing in this beautiful open part of a forest that I didn't even know existed if I hadn't followed that one tiny hint of a path. And so the whole Wild Turkey miniseries was absolutely probably one of my favorite stories that we got to tell on Niche to Meet You. But it was a couple months after that I got invited to explore the idea of the wild turkey for another show that I was working on called The Bulletin. It's a weekly news show. And they were trying to figure out what to do for Thanksgiving. And I said, well, I kind of know all these turkey people. And so I pitched the idea of having 2 really interesting guests come on to talk about the turkey and why it's important. And a voice that you heard a lot of in the Wild Turkey miniseries was Mary Wiyaki. She is a retired archaeologist, member of the Pueblo Nation, New Mexico. And then you heard for just a little bit the voice of Matt Light, who's a former Patriots player, and he has a nonprofit that helps kids get out into the wild a bit. And he goes on turkey hunts. He loves turkey hunting. So I thought, what if I got both of them together on a call? And this amazing moment ensued that we actually ran as a bonus episode on the Niche feed, but it's probably one of my favorite moments. I'm going to start rolling the clip in a second, so you'll hear that start to fade up. But what you can't see is that we're setting up the frame, and Mary and Matt, 2 people who never would have met each other otherwise, both have behind them on the wall deer heads. Mary, what are the chances you could get your deer mounted on the wall right behind you? And then we could really have...
I always like to sit with my head between the...
There you go. It's like giving you bunny ears. It was such a cute moment. All 3 of us were completely tickled. But then we went on to talk about what the wild turkey meant to each of them. And I never thought in my wildest dreams I would talk to a former NFL player, Super Bowl champion, multi-time Super Bowl champion. Am I saying that right? I don't even know. But I got to ask him this question, and it continues to be just a really... I don't know. I sort of like pinch myself when I think that I got to have this conversation. So Matt, your relationship with the turkey and the world of the turkey, did it help in unexpected ways in your football career? Like, was it a respite for you in a way? Or
I'm going to echo what I think probably most real outdoorsmen and hunters would say is that every second that you get to spend outdoors, not necessarily, on a trail hike with your buddies, but there's something about just you and the things around you and just being present, not making noise, being quiet, listening, watching, observing. There's something spiritual about it. And it's kind of like being in church. It's kind of like meditation. I mean, it's all these things that can help center you. And yeah, so I would say that, maybe chasing, wild turkey in the spring saved my career, or at least prolonged it in some way. But it's always had that effect on me. Just being in the outdoors, there's nothing like it on planet Earth.
This was even cooler when I watched the roast of Tom Brady. Don't ask me why. I honestly have no idea. And I saw Matt Light on the stage with the rest of Tom's teammates. I don't know. All right, onward. Okay, so a couple months before I actually released the wild turkey story, I decided to put together a reel about when I went hunting with Farmer Billy. And I thought there was a really cool moment when he made this sound that sounded like a turkey sound, I guess, and then the turkey gobbled. And I just thought it might be kind of fun to put together on Instagram, wasn't thinking anything of it. And within 2 days, it had 5 million views. Listen, for me, that doesn't happen. So it was very exciting. And I wanted to play the part with Farmer Billy from the actual episode. So picture this. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning and I meet this farmer named Billy who's been turkey hunting his whole life. He adores these creatures. He loves this practice. There was absolutely no one better to experience turkey hunting for the first time with. And then he busts out this sound, which people on Instagram said they had never heard anything like it. So here's that moment. We settle into the forest floor at the base of a tree, and Billy begins the match.
He just gobbled right there. That was a gobble. Yeah, he's on the ground down there. See, he gobbled again. Yeah, he's coming this way. See, he cut me off.
The first time we met, Billy told me he was deaf in one ear. Spent time in the Marines, and that affected his hearing. He leans in when you talk to him and read your lips. But turkey gobbles? Billy can hear them from yards away. And then Billy did something that blew my mind. That sound is coming from his mouth. He's mimicking something called spitting and drumming, the sound toms make when they're strutting, and he's using it to start a competition with the other tom, making him think that there's another male up the hill.
He's hot, he double gobbled.
What you can't see in that moment is that when the turkey gobbles, Billy proudly, satisfyingly looks up at the sky and smiles. I love Farmer Billy, and I love wild turkeys. All right, next up. Number 1. Okay, this is the heavy hitter. We have reached the Santa series, and the Santa series changed this show forever. It is indelibly linked to the fabric and ethos of Nichest to Meet You. I'm going to share here some moments that still completely undo me, make me cry every time. If you haven't listened to the series yet this December, I very much encourage you to. I know it's my own thing, but seriously, it's extremely important. So the first moment that I wanted to revisit is from my time at the School for the Blind. Their longtime facilities manager is also a professional Santa. And so every year for like 15 years, this guy dresses up and visits everyone in the school. And it was some of the most precious tape I've ever experienced. It was one of my favorite moments collecting tape for this project. And the feedback I get from this series is that it's these moments that make people cry the most. So I hope you're in a crying mood, because I'm going to play a couple of my favorite moments from my time with the Santa at the School for the Blind. Santa Donald's work is somewhat unique in that he serves a very targeted population with specific needs. For example, he wears a bracelet of jingle bells on his wrist so that children can hear where his hands are. Other Santas actually employ similar methods for hand recognition. I met Santa Lincoln, for example, and he wears vibrant green gloves. It's kind of become his brand at this point. They're really easy to see in person and in photos. It's disarming for children and parents. Something about a bare hand from a stranger inviting them to be physically close sets off internal alarms, perhaps as it should. The gloves help with that impact. It's not as intrusive. And Santas are being taught how to respect and encourage bodily autonomy. But for Santa Donald, he's appealing to one less sense than a general population. Though visual impairments exist on a spectrum, his clientele by and large don't employ eyesight to take in their information. And that's informed the way he exists in this role.
I don't know, I've always tried to make a personal contact.
Yeah.
Because some of the kids react different. And most of them, I think, react more to touch. It just feels like they're a lot more closeness. And there's not a lot of that anymore, so.
Yeah. So he employs closeness, both physical and emotional, carefully and tenderly.
What's your name? Can you hold my hand? You hear my jingle bells?
You say hi.
Can you feel my beard? Is he the one that's scared?
With each child, he asks them how they are, maybe with a chuckle and a ho-ho-ho.
How are you?
And then he asks them, of course, what they want for Christmas. And some of them have been eagerly anticipating this moment, reciting their memorized list in full while classmates kind of impatiently wait their turn.
Tell me what you want for Christmas.
I want a piano and plastic balls.
Plastic balls.
And then a acoustic guitar.
Acoustic guitar?
Yes.
You play guitar?
Yes, I do, actually. An electric guitar.
You want a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes, and a stand-up piano.
He's right in front of you. Can you smile real big? To your left a little bit. This side. There you go. Say cheese.
All right.
That was a good picture. All right.
All right.
Well, you better be putting that list together for me, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Even the simple comments are striking to me in the ways that Santa is intentionally caring for those he serves, like when he says, "That's a good picture." It's a dignifying way to affirm the child that the photo actually did happen and that it looks good.
Do you want to sit in my lap? You will stand next to me. No?
I love you, Santa.
I love you too, bud. Say, look at this big picture. Say cheese.
It is no small thing to have earned a child's trust. And these Santa portrayal artists work to not only have it, but keep it. Not just for themselves, but for every other Santa the child meets in the future, because even if they make their living elsewhere, like as a facilities manager at a school, this is a very serious undertaking.
When they say it's a calling, it's a calling. If you do it right, it's a calling. I always kind of made fun of that because I always thought, the hell, calling, they make it sound religious. Well, it kind of is. You are a representative of St. Nicholas. Okay.
A calling to be a representative. I love it so much. Okay, the next one is from Santa George Smithers. He's a Black Santa based in Louisville. And I met him at the International Santa Celebration in Memphis, Tennessee in early 2024. And I was asking him about his Christmas, what brought him to this. And he said that his mom was one of the main reasons. The first time she saw him in costume, he said she was overjoyed, couldn't stop giggling, said she'd never seen a Black Santa before. And then he started talking about his own childhood, and we got this unbelievably beautiful moment.
And it was like 9 of us. And, how my mom and dad every year pulled that off was just amazing. And everybody had their requests. As an African-American family coming up in the 70s with, 9 babies, all of them in school, never miss a holiday, never miss shoes or clothes and, or a meal. It was just amazing. I'm sorry. My childhood was amazing.
Despite remembering warm Christmases, he noticed something in adulthood about the photos from that time.
My mom had a picture of me and my sister when we were, I think I was in the 3rd grade. My sister may have been in the 1st grade. And she took us to see Santa, happened to be a white Santa. They took the picture. The Santa wouldn't even look at the camera. So it was a profile picture of him, but we were facing the camera. Smiling, my mom had to pay for that picture. She cherished it. Now that I'm a Santa, I don't know why she bought it. I wouldn't have bought it.
Showing these photos to family members years later, they made a heartbreaking discovery.
When I showed it to my older brother, he had a picture of my older cousin from the 50s into the early 60s as a little boy with the white Santa, the exact same profile. So I said, I wonder how many other Black kids got pictures like this. And lo and behold, a woman from Texas sent me a picture of her and her sister. Santa's facing forward, but he's looking down. Then Kim Fields, the actress, Kim Fields, posted one on Facebook of her mom and sister as children with the white Santa, the exact same profile. So I said to my wife, this is why they need me. It's
very hard to not get emotional listening to something like that, because I think it's a moment when we're met with someone else's very deep and vulnerable why. Why they do these things at all, why they invest the time and the money, and it ultimately comes down to something very personal that they've experienced. It also gets to the heart of why representation matters in everything, but in this case with Santa's, it matters because it's a reflection of our own humanity. We have to be able to picture Santa coming into our house and down the chimney, even if we don't, believe it literally. But for kids that aren't white, it's kind of hard to imagine this strange white man coming into their house or, at these events hanging out with their family. And so it really means something that there are people that look like these kids that dress up as Santa to bring joy and hope and peace. Now, to close the Santa series, I wanted to honor a little Beach Boys Relient K tradition. So if you don't know, the Beach Boys have this version of Auld Lang Syne that's a cappella. And then at some point, they go to this sort of down moment, and a voice that you rarely hear offers this Christmas greeting. And there's an emo pop band called Relient K, and if you've listened to every minute of this podcast, you will have heard their name mentioned already a couple times. But they took on this tradition, this Beach Boys Auld Lang Syne tradition, and they also have this spoken greeting from a voice you don't get to hear often, their bass player. And I thought it would be really fun to do an homage to that and have my script editor, Chris Thiessen. He reads all the scripts just to make sure everything makes sense. He's sort of like the person who looks for the flare up from the wilderness from me as I'm in the weeds trying to work it all out. And I wanted him to record a benediction for you. And since this is releasing in December, I also wanted to share it here.
Hi, this is Chris. And speaking for the rest of the Niche to Meet You team, I'd like to say that making this podcast together for you has been a true pleasure. We hope you will treasure it the way we do. And if you happen to be listening to this podcast right now, Leslie, Abby, Rachel, and I would like to wish every one of you a very Merry Christmas. And we hope the new year will be filled with more niche delights, thriving communities, exciting new hobbies, and above all, hope. Thank you very much.
I hope you'll stay tuned to the Niche to Meet You podcast in the coming months. Sometime in 2026, we're going to hear a story about Double Dutch. I'm working on it now. And there will be other exciting surprises along the way. If you're signed up for our email list called the Niche List, I send newsletters and updates there, significant updates, and I'll probably be sending a couple in the next 2 months before the end of the year. So sign up, check the show notes for where to do that. And hey, if you haven't listened to all our episodes and this has your interest piqued, go ahead, listen. But in the meantime, do not be afraid. These niche interests of ours can actually be the antidote to an anti-us era. Thanks for wandering in the niches with me this year. Go in peace and delight. I hope you enjoyed this episode, my new niche buddy. There are more episodes waiting for you wherever you're listening to this one right here, right now. So go find them, like our episode about dog agility, or like vintage car radio restoration. There is so much more to be found in the Nicheverse. I'm so glad to have had you with us. Don't be a stranger. We'll see you next time.